Hi, welcome to our multivariate presentation for Paul 242, Citizen Trust in the Hugo Chavez Government.
Beginning with the research design, the research question asks what factors have an influence on a citizen's level of trust in the Hugo Chavez government. The dataset we will be using to investigate this is the 2007 Latino Barometer.
The primary source of our analysis is elaboration through hierarchical regression. Our supporting data comes from reliability analysis and crosstabs.
The rationale behind our study was to investigate the general consensus regarding the Chavez regime because there are contradictory reports on the legitimacy of his administration. Although many sources cite him as a totalitarian ruler, other sources praise him for reducing poverty and lowering inequality. Based on this, we selected a social, political, and economic indicator that would impact the level of trust in the government.
To measure trust in government, we constructed an index using the level of trust in 7 different government institutions as the indicators. The reliability analysis gave our index an alpha score of 0.8881. This alpha score would not have increased if any of the indicators would have been deleted.
The independent variables we have chosen for the study are as follows. The social indicator asks, what is your opinion of the United States? The political indicator measures democratic satisfaction, and the economic indicator measures income by asking, what are your personal and familial financial expectations for the next 12 months?
Our first hypothesis is that Venezuelans who have a high opinion of the U.S. are less likely to support the Chavez government. This is because the United States has expressed a negative opinion of Hugo Chavez. An official Congress report states, U.S. officials and human rights organizations have expressed concerns about the deterioration of democratic institutions and threats to freedom of expression under President Chavez. Based on the American opposition to Chavez, we have concluded that people who support the United States will be less likely to support Chavez.
Our second hypothesis states that citizens who are satisfied with democracy in Venezuela will be more likely to trust the Chavez government. We based this on concerns surrounding Venezuela's standard of democracy, summarized by Julia Buxton, who states Chavez's involvement in a military coup against the democratically elected President Carlos Andrés Perez in 1992 was posited as evidence as lack of respect for the democratic process. In light of this, we hypothesize that citizens who do not share this opinion are satisfied with the democratic process of Venezuela and more likely to trust the Chavez government.
Our final hypothesis relates to the personal economic situation of the respondents. We believe Venezuelans who expect their household's economic situation to improve will have greater trust in the Chavez government. We are basing this on Lustig and McLeod's research that leftist governments, and to a greater extent left populist governments like Chavez's, have been reducing inequality and poverty in Latin America.
This multivariate regression supports our 3 hypotheses, satisfaction with democracy being the strongest determinant of the 3. Both future personal economic situation and satisfaction with democracy had positive beta scores. Every time our participants' response increased a category in these independent variables, the dependent variable increased. For personal economic situation, a 1 category increase led to a 1.5 category increase in trust in government. For satisfaction in democracy, a 1 category increase led to a 2.5 category increase in trust in government. The regression also supports the hypothesis that having a high opinion of the United States would make the respondent less likely to trust the Venezuelan government. For every category increase in the opinion of the U.S., there is a 3/4 category decrease in trust in the Venezuelan government. Overall, these 3 independent variables combine to explain nearly 50% of the variance in government trust.
The regression is consistent with our crosstab results, which show that 55.8% of people who consider the U.S. to be very bad have high trust in the Venezuelan government, while 55.9% of Venezuelans who think the United States is very good have a low level of trust in their government. The crosstabs continue to reinforce our hypothesis. Of Venezuelans who are very satisfied with democracy, nearly 60% have a high trust in the government. Of the 10.3% of Venezuelans who are not at all satisfied with democracy, 83.9% of them have low trust in their government. Most Venezuelans are either very satisfied or satisfied with democracy in their country, indicating that they feel the democratic process is working. The personal income crosstab tells us that 55.5% of Venezuelans who believe their income will be much better have a high level of trust in their government, and the people who are expecting a decrease in personal income are much more likely to have a low trust in Chavez's government.
We wanted to find more detail about the factors influencing trust in the Venezuelan government. Based on information that Hugo Chavez was working to integrate the rural poor into the national economy, we hypothesized that the rural Venezuelans would have a higher level of trust in government than urban Venezuelans. To measure this, we returned to our regression model and added 2 dummy variables to control for size of town based on population. We used towns of less than 50,000 for the first new independent variable, and towns of 50,000 to 100,000 for the second variable. Cities over 100,000 were used as our reference category.
This regression shows that populations with less than 50,000 will support the Chavez administration 3/4 of a category more than the reference category in the trust index. The people from towns with a population of 50 to 100,000 will support the Chavez administration nearly 1 category more in the trust index. After controlling for the size of the town, this hierarchical regression's explained variance only increases from the original regression by decimal points, going from 49.8% to 50.3%. This is an example of replication because the b-values for the original regression coefficients only change by decimal points, well short of the 1/3 change required to claim that size of town is a causal factor in the explanatory power of the original 3 variables. This model did prove that the first model's relationships were genuine and not spurious.
In conclusion, controlling for town size did confirm that support is slightly higher in the smaller towns. However, there was not enough change in the original 3 coefficients to confirm town size as an explanatory factor in determining trust in.
A possible limitation with our dummy variables is that they did not take into account towns with less than 10,000 inhabitants. There were also limitations with the dataset because it did not take into account an interval income category, such as 10 to 20,000 or 20 to 30,000. With this, we may have been better able to measure Chavez's impact on the poor.
Some directions for further research would be to include more comprehensive socioeconomic indicators, which would be necessary before coming to conclusions regarding the link between social class and trust in the Venezuelan government.